So, my friends, welcome to a new crypto update video. Bitcoin is at 106,200 US dollars. We have, well, either left our symmetrical triangle or, depending on how some people see it, a descending triangle to the downside for now. We filled in all the wicks here, we filled the inefficiency, and last night we dropped to just about 104,500 US dollars. Since then, we've been bought back up again. Volume is still very, very weak. Still, there are some data releases today that could push us back up. I still think, or rather, what do I mean by think? I'm still convinced that we could rise toward 114 to 116,000 US dollars. Why, how, and for what reason? You'll definitely find out in the video. Of course, we'll also take a look at the other trades. Gold had a huge pump again yesterday. So definitely keep an eye on Ethereum as well, and of course on the stock markets. But before we get started, feel free to give the video a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, turn on the bell so you get notified. And if you're interested, feel free to join the free Telegram talk and signal group. If you want updates, news, and signals, just use the link down in the video description to sign up or join in. And if you're still looking for an exchange where you can trade everything we talk about here, feel free to sign up with my partner exchange, BingX. There, as I said, you can trade everything we discuss here, like gold, the DEX, and so on, just the same, and of course, you can also stake. And besides, by doing so, you're also supporting the channel. So, Bitcoin at 166,200 US dollars. As I said, we broke down from our symmetrical or descending triangle, depending on how you draw this line here, yesterday. A bearish retest is still pending and can happen in the next few hours. Still, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see a dramatic sell-off here. What worries me a bit more, or rather, where we actually got a bit lucky, was the daily candle, which closed right here in this demand zone, and this red box I'm drawing for you now. That was the demand zone, and we closed exactly there. That means the trend is still fundamentally intact here, at least for now. That's our luck for now. Second, the funding rates have dropped significantly again, which is also a positive sign. And point number 3, according to the heat map, there's still this huge chunk between $109,000 and $112,000 where there's a lot left to be liquidated. That means we're still in play to possibly reach this target up here, which would also trigger more sell orders, at least for me, in terms of spot positions. So, the chance that we'll move up during the day is very, very high. What's also coming up today at 2:30 p.m. are the PCE numbers. I'm really curious about those because of course Powell is paying close attention to them as well. We'll see, in the end, how the inflation numbers turn out or whether there's still an increasing risk of inflation. All of that is coming up today at 2:30 p.m. Of course, personal spending figures as well. How is the economy doing? Is the economy doing well? If spending keeps rising, that's obviously great because then the US is doing well. Then we still shouldn't expect any interest rate cuts. But I wasn't expecting that anyway, since we took a look at this yesterday during the live stream. In June, no one is really expecting a rate cut, and even for August, now about 76, almost 77% don't expect a rate cut, and I'm not expecting one either. I don't expect it any earlier than maybe around September, if by then everything hasn't already gone to hell. You just have to put it that bluntly. Let's jump right into the chart now. 106,000 US dollars. Like I said, our sell-off didn't really have all that much volume behind it. We still have a lot more, firepower to the upside that we could tap into. On the one hand, up here at 108,400 US dollars, we still have a vector left, and then of course our vector up here at 111,000 US dollars. That means the chance that we'll climb up here again is very, very high before we might see a turnaround. To me, it still doesn't look like a top is forming. That's also an important point. If we compare this to 2021, we also had hesitant tops back then. You could say, okay, a hesitant top and then a huge sell-off. But we didn't really have that here. Instead, it was more of a consolidation, more of a sideways phase, and right now, that's just what it looks like again. That's why, as I said, the chances of us moving higher here are significantly, significantly greater. You could put it that way, too. We'll encounter resistance starting at 107,700 US dollars. That's where the next supply zone is. If we get rejected again in this price range, then the chances are higher that we'll drop down another level. Then probably down here in the area of 102,000 or even 101,700 US dollars. The 200-day SMA also runs through this area, around 102,200 as well. So that would be the next, opportunity where we could find support, and honestly, after that, things start to look pretty rough. Then we'd be in free fall down to 97, or even, well, then those 87,000K come back into play. But as I said, it doesn't look like that yet. We shouldn't start painting the devil on the wall just yet. It's not that bad yet, to be fair, but it's something to keep an eye on. Besides, it's Friday today, of course. Alright, let's move over to Ethereum. How's it looking there? Ethereum is still holding up very, very strong. We did have a brief CLO, well, not really a close, but we fished for liquidity down here from 2,560 down to 2,550. That was actually pretty okay, since we then had the 4-hour close back above our monthly pivot. That means we're still consolidating here. I really like that. The daily close wasn't really, spectacular either. So everything is still in play here as well. Depending on how we draw the line here, we could still get daily closes. Here too, we're still in the ascending triangle, just with a fake out to the upside. That means there's still a chance that Ethereum could climb up toward, 3,000 US dollars. We're still bullish as long as this trend remains intact. Even though, and this is what I mentioned yesterday, the volume here isn't really anything spectacular. So we definitely need a lot more volume to the upside here in order to see a breakout. But for me, the target zone remains $3,000 as long as this trend stays intact. Otherwise, it will probably head pretty quickly toward 2,280 US dollars, where the 4-hour SMA is currently located, and that's likely where it will go. Other than that, there's not much to discuss here. Solana almost reached our target from a long position. So we're getting there a bit faster than expected. Still, the target hasn't been hit yet. For me, the key zone is 198, 158 US dollars, where I still expect a long position. Maybe we'll get there again during the day. We'll have to keep an eye on it. At the moment, like I said, I'm still not in here yet. If anything happens, of course I'll clarify it for you in the Telegram group and let you know. Let's move on to the traditional markets. There's been a bit more action there, specifically with the gold long position. As I mentioned yesterday, it was picked up perfectly down here. If you went long here, congratulations, 2 take profits were hit. I also mentioned that yesterday during the live stream. The goal remains, since we're still in the position right now, to at least reach these highs here, 3,367 or even 3,438 US dollars at some point. But the long position remains triggered. Everything still looks good in terms of volume as well. The economic situation is also fine, because if inflation drops today, or if the PCI data does, then, the Fed still has no reason to cut rates. It really doesn't matter how these numbers turn out. If they come in higher, it's bad for the markets. If they come in lower, there's still a bit of that hopium. But for gold, that shouldn't mean any further restrictions. If we lose this long position, the next entry would be here around 3,180 or 3,200 US dollars. That's because we'd still be in this symmetrical triangle, and it will probably break out to the upside since we're still in an uptrend. Traditional markets, DEX, I don't really care. It just does whatever it wants anyway. We've had a bearish divergence for weeks, but the DEX doesn't care either. So I won't be opening any new positions here for the first time. Dow Jones, what's going on there? It also held at the support of the golden pocket. Nasdaq, on the other hand, still looks very, very bullish. So, no really bad close there. Of course, Nvidia's numbers gave the price a bit of a boost yesterday. Close was now also, yes, cautious. There's just a bit of momentum missing at the moment, but everything still looks very, very good. At the very least, either toward all-time high levels or at least up here into the area at around 21,952 points. This will be the cluster where I'd start considering maybe selling a few more stocks again. But for now, that's the target zone since we broke through the golden pocket to the upside. Same story with the S&P 500, it's also recovered pretty well. Of course, there's bearish divergence here too. Yeah, with the whole tariff conflict, first it seemed to be off the table, then suddenly there are tariffs again and all that stuff. No one really cares about it at the moment. Here too, the goal remains, if we don't drop down into the golden pocket, then the upward movement is definitely still intact, aiming for the all-time high for now. And last but not least, I could just kick myself again. The euro against the US dollar missed our target by just a tiny, really tiny, minimal amount. We dropped down to 1.121. For me, the entry would have been at 1.12. So, it missed by just a little bit. I still have, and I'm telling you exactly how it is, I still have hope that we'll drop down here again and somehow get our entry in. If anyone already got in a bit earlier, okay, congrats, take your first profit and let the rest run. But for me, this area down here remains very, very crucial. Also because the DXY is struggling a bit again now. First there was that pump, then now this consolidation, and then another small pump. So it still doesn't really look strong, even though Japan currently isn't showing any signs of raising interest rates. That's it for now, just a quick update. There will be an XRP update later, because you know, it's Friday, and otherwise that's it from my side. I wish you a nice, relaxing day. Leave a like, subscribe, join the Telegram group, and we'll catch up later for the XRP update. Until then, bye-bye, and as always, stay crypto.